Hello, this is the news, the international news of Lucia Arden. I want to talk about the tariffs today, about the China tariffs and the EU tariffs and the general tariffs. Let's get to it. Thank you so much. I want to say that we have to be very careful. Very, very careful, because the tariffs of the uncertainty of the China tariffs, we do realize that China has caused a detriment around the whole world for deaths of the CCP virus with other individuals such as Fauci, and also the fentanyl in our country. But on the other hand, we do have small businesses dependent on China and may only be able to go 30 days before shutting down. Bigger companies looking for alternatives to China, not clear what's happening after the 90-day pause. So we need to come to terms with that as soon as possible, because we have to look at how many small businesses will come into detriment, as they're saying on ABC News. How many small businesses? Here it is right here. We could show you that they talk about it. Here, this lovely lady.
For those businesses, the clock is ticking. Every minute that goes by where they don't have an answer is another minute that could potentially amount to that business literally closing down. Farmers are waiting on this because...
And that's the farmers. That's what I was talking about, Lucia Arden, about the farmers need to be protected under this tariff. And all the time, because the farmers, it's one of our biggest exports too, and we need to realize the small businesses we need to protect. But I do understand that China has been a big detriment to everyone, but we need to come to terms with this right away. And I believe that there has to be a negotiation. And President Trump is doing a great job. He's the first one in his team, and I agree with him. He needs to make some changes, because things are not totally correct with China, the way they're treating the whole humanity around the world. And also we get 60% of all their production. So all the production of all our manufacturing is purchased by China. So we need to look at all that information. So we have to be careful, because the small businesses depend on China's products. So let's work together on this and consider what's going on here and pick it up. And we need to realize that we cannot drop our businesses, our small businesses. Let's repeat that and show you again.
For those businesses, the clock is ticking. Every minute that goes by where they don't have an answer is another minute that could potentially amount to that business literally closing down. Farmers are waiting on this because the retaliation that's coming out of China can do things like restricting what American farmers export to China, not sending their crops. That has an impact, and we're also hearing it from big businesses, from Delta to Walmart, who are saying, we don't have certainty, we can't forecast the future.
So this is what I was saying about to protection, that we have to be careful. And here is my information about the information on my books. Let's go on with her. About we need to realize that we have to realize that we have to check all the prices and all the prices of what it would cost, and we have to be careful, because then it might be too high. And that's what was the first major thing that I talked about in the tariffs, is the prices of what it would cost to make a tariff, and changes that we can't affect other businesses, and what are the contraindications. Here it is right here. the trade, there can be no negotiations. And even in wars, there needs to be negotiations right away, because we spent all our money on that could have been for all the homeless housing, and we spent it on the Ukraine and Russia war. But we need to realize all these things that we've been helping, because we are the one that gave the money for the Hurricane war. It has all to do with exports, because we used all our money. We're in debt, and we've had to print the most money, and we have the highest debt we've ever had in America. We gave the money to Hurricane. Is Hurricane going to give us the commodities back? And in commodities and landies, and that's what I was talking about, the negotiation of the war. And we could have had all the homeless, all the housing made. And this has things to do with export, because there's no more bricks. That's where we got our greatest service. But on the other hand, details like this have to be careful about China, about we cannot let our small businesses go because they're connected to China and the agriculture. It's a very serious thing. We have to have dedication and trade. And trade goes in all different ways. We need to come together in understanding that President Trump, we're doing a beautiful job. So we have some leverage here, President Trump. Our companies are going to come back to, we're going to make Apple is investing $500 billion in our country, and 200 to 300 billion is coming back to Taiwan, to our country, to build microchips. And we're building our autos in Indiana, and we're doing a great job. And we're going to put negotiations with Mexico. So we have to be very careful, and we're doing well. But we don't want to let all the people in China that are related to China's small businesses and the agriculture have a political downfall, an economical problem. But I believe President Trump will work on this. That's why he gave us a 90-day, but we needed to do it sooner, a 90-day pause, and it's a 10% increase. So this is very important, but he had to do something, because China, we're in debt. We owe $800 billion to China, and 60% of all our manufacturing is from China. We don't have, sweethearts, we don't have, and she's not mentioning the bricks, the beautiful lady. We don't have bricks anymore where we would get our services, and we spend $680 billion. We spend the most money in the whole world of all products. We buy the most products, so we need the most money to pay for the products. But we don't have bricks anymore with Russia and China and other countries, only the 27 EU, and thank God our beautiful Saudi Arabia friend is with us. So we need to come together, and we need to realize these little details. And I believe we can make details on certain businesses, come back to the table with China about agriculture and small businesses and other things like that. We could work together, I believe. So these are things, there are powerful who trade in drugs and trade in the drugs, which is very, very important, because China has used us as a tool to try to be a geopolitical power, killing our country with phenylphene, 78,000, and also coming in the offices and lining everything up and trying to get our CCP land, CCP vaccinations, CCP virus, everything. And then we cannot buy properties in China, correct? Or Russia. So things have to, it's a delicate glove, and America has to realize this, because in the long run, if we don't look at these tools that we have and leverage, we're going to be in trouble and we'll lose out. So we do need to look at the small businesses, and we need to look and see. And I pleaded, and so did others, about stopping the war, but Biden left us in hell. And I hate to say that, but it's true, because we weren't following the justice of a Judeo-Christian nation. And Kamala and Biden and the elite communists of the Democratic Party. And every step, I heard President Trump speak about Biden sleeping. Every step he did was a problem. Our energy, our borders, open borders like that with geopolitical problems. Our country has never been in more danger than ever has. Thank God we have the team of Patel and Bondi and all the beautiful police people that you saw in Florida and everywhere, all the borders are being protected. They worked very hard, all working together. And I asked them to make small submarines around all our borders, and they did. They did make small submarines. Lucia Arden asked them, and they made them during the Hurricane War because our waters need to be safe. And this has to do with exports. All this has to. Just like when China brought in the balloons or whatever, those drones, they were looking at things. You know what I mean? They were looking at things. And that's why they had to have a whole bunch of drones, because they thought there was an opening, some nuclear problems come through. Now, come on, this is very, very serious. All these things relate. It's geopolitical powers and they all relate. We have to realize that these trade business is all directly related to all businesses and all things. But now we have the oil, and we have the oil, and we have issues with the oil that could be a magnificent thing for the EU. Now let's talk about the EU, because he wants to put high sanctions on the EU, but only 10% now. But he says he's going to deliberate with each nation. But Russia buys the oil. The EU buys Russia's oil. Mostly their oil comes from Russia. And we need to ask, just like Ursula said, the leader of the world EU, that Russia, we need to be independent Russia. And so we should supply all the oil. And that could take care of that. We can make an agreement instead of have tariffs, because 70% of all the products in Europe that they make we buy. And then we have another problem. 60% of China, 60% of all our products come from China. So our export wasn't so high, as I showed you the numbers, and I'll show you. It's not so high in goods, but it was high, 900 and something $billion. It was high in services, and that's when they traded the oil and the oil and the commodities, they traded with the dollar, but not anymore. So that makes a difference. So consider the BRICS now has formed 2024. Many countries will not be trading their commodities with America. And thank God I said Saudi Arabia is still in with us in the EU. Okay. And then this is why we need to make sure other countries are fair with tariffs, such as the auto and any other auto products, such as President Trump said, and now making in Mexico, there needs to be tariffs on them. So we could be fine, President Trump, because you brought back, and you did a beautiful job. And people don't talk about the good things, but we do need to reckon that he brought companies in from Taiwan with that are going to put in $200 to $300 billion company to make microchips, and then also $500 billion with Apple. And now we have the auto companies. So this is going to be fine. When we begin to drill and export with little, this will balance the BRICS that others are not trading with the dollar. So we need to increase our fracking and our liquid gas, because we had the most. We did a beautiful job because the Hurricane War in Russia. Okay. That's when the European Union reacted with several packages of sanctions. We had, in 2024, United States was the largest partner of EU imports of liquefied natural gas and petroleum oils. So if we could supplement that all together, because in 2024, we increased, okay? But we only give 10 to 13% of the total crude oil of imports in the EU. So if we could increase that, we could be fine on that side. But then on the other hand, with China, we have to use a delicate glove, and we cannot forget these small businesses. Okay. So do you understand how we could cure the problem with the tariffs if we ask that they have to buy our oil? Okay. Because most of their oil comes from Russia. Okay. Most of it comes from Russia. And again, remember, 70% of their exports go to us. Okay? Do you understand? So we have that problem solved. But then the other problem with the China, I'm very disappointed in China because they've done a lot of terrible things to us. But these are the services. We import 600 billion services, okay? And services are, they're not goods. The services is mainly the exchange of services of business, such as gold and commodities in big companies like that, maybe real estate and also oil in ecosystems that are needed. So not 9 natural ecosystems that we use and need. $926 billion we export, and that's where we got all that money, sweethearts. But not anymore, because we don't trade with Russia and China. And China and Russia are big powerhouses. But we still have that high number, 239 billion of export in the EU and 167 billion. But it's only, it's less than 100,000. I'm sorry, 100 billion. It's less than 100 billion that we need to, that's the difference that we're making. And so we need to supplement that some way because we don't have BRICS anymore. We don't have this big number of the 926 billion. And this is what we need to think about. Do you understand? Do you understand what's going on here? So we need to be careful because I wrote all about this, what to consider when you trade, you know, what to consider everything when you trade, and about trafficking, the trafficking of the organs, you know, that they do in China does, which is terrible. And those all things need to be addressed, and they get away with it. And now China, we use all their products, and then a lot of small businesses do, but we could make, just like President Trump, we could make an individual appointments for each country, because I don't believe that we should let go of all our small businesses due to China's terrible, terrible, treacherous humanitarian belief system, and also taking advantage of the whole world in many ways. And this is very serious. And we could come together with these negotiations. So let's sum it up. Let's sum it up now. That we need to come together and ask to be careful how much you ask. Then they might increase the price. So that's what I was saying. That was the first thing when I asked about the United States is the European Union's largest trade partner and accounting for the 5th EU exports in 2023, remains its largest investment destination, accounting for 55% of the total investment in the United States. And now it's 70%, okay? And so to look at the trade is, are we trying to ensure to get tariffs? You have to be careful how much you ask. That was the first thing. And we need to work together on this to protect our small businesses. Then they might increase the price or put sanctions on the agriculture, just like that lady said. And I always been talking about agriculture to protect. I pleaded with the billionaires. I need protection for my agriculture people in America. Also, the price will be higher if the product becomes difficult to get. We have imported from many of these businesses for a more extended period. Is it quality appropriate? Is it safe? And are there toxins and dangers for humans? What I think we should do is we need to build our America, bring back as many small businesses and large businesses as we can, and then come back and revisit the tariff again when our country is stronger and has more small, large businesses that purchase items from our own country, and that we have our own products. So we have to be careful. Otherwise, we could bring down so many small and large businesses, especially the agriculture. So we need specifically to make negotiations on those points. And here's the trafficking of crimes, which China does in manufacturing. And just like they found the Florida police and the people that take care of all the ocean area, which I asked, but small, I asked Lisa Lucia Arden to make, and I wonder if they use them, small submarines, which I told them to, and they did during the war. In those waters, all the borders have to be protected. And guess what? They found $500 million drugs that they were going to put into our country. And China might be involved with that. And China killed 78,000 people last year, a fentanyl. That's not right. But on the other hand, we are in trouble because of the small businesses rely on Chinese product and the agriculture, but we could work together. And President Trump is right. He has to be his friend. You have to be friends when you're trying to make an agreement of the contract. The contract, that's one of the things on a contract. First thing is the offer. The second thing is an agreement. An agreement, there has to be some type of friendship of an agreement. And the third thing is no disagreement. Do you know what I mean? And then there could be addendums and change, and we could come back and revisit. Do you understand? So these are all the things. Organize each export and review it from its country. Hire a trusted person for report investigation. Use these questions and statements as the beginning. Compare and contrast. Who do we import and export to different countries? And the thing is President Trump is right too. We could go to other countries and buy their product. So those small businesses, are you listening? Could go to other countries to buy their product. That's another thing. Are you listening? So they have time to ask other countries to buy their product. Because I had a friend that called me because I'm in global property investment. And he says, Lisa, do you know anybody that could make a product? I don't want to say it is because I don't have the right to tell his name. And he called me yesterday or the day before. And so I found a man in India that has some connections with making a product. So that's another thing we could do to save the small businesses. So we all need to look forward. But the agriculture is very serious. And that could be divvied out. So we need to come together, and so are the small businesses, and think about these things. But look at how they use the harvesting for the organs. That's a business, sweetheart. It's a business. And they found also in the hospitals in America, which I could fit it in here, and it is an export. It's an export. They sell those products of organs, and they steal them when people go to the hospital. That needs to be taken care of. I'm a humanitarian, and we need to look at this. So do you understand? Government should be penalized for using people of scientific research and abuse. I believe in many governmental agencies in science, new laws, and reassessment for children's welfare and people's welfare. And trafficking. These are all important things. Do you understand? Resurrecting the state's manufacturing, see what has been shut down and lost. See if it can be restored. Also, the buildings involved can be restored. If not, do they need to be taken down? Have universities and children study dismantling structures that are destroyed or in dangerous conditions that could be restored and recycling. These are all exports and imports that we could develop for our country, to develop our small and large businesses, to come and restore our country. These all relate. So do you understand? We don't have the bricks anymore. We don't have the bricks anymore, and so it's a problem that we've lost money from the bricks. We used to make $926 billion. But now it's decreased. And United States is the most significant server of importer of the world. We import $680 billion. Do you understand? $680 billion we import. So we have to have money to buy the things. And we had income because of the 926 billion. All that money we made, even though we imported 680 billion. We still had that much more billion, but we are in debt and we need to clear our debt. Excuse me, because I was talking very, very loud, and this is another. I was talking very loud, and we need to look at all this information, and I wanted to show you this information. And here's the goods and services. This is goods. It's different. That's like the agriculture and the soybean we sell, and other items we sell. But America, we import $3.2 trillion, and we export $2.01 trillion. In China, we import 414 billion, and we export only 150 trillion. And that that's mostly the agriculture and other few things. But so all that big number is coming from all the purchase of items. But how can our small, large businesses purchase items from another country? They need to find other ways, and maybe with a longer time, President Trump could give them more time to get their financing and their financing together, and also their product in another country. Do you see this? Here's European Union. We $553 billion, 70% of the European Union's production goes to America, and 350 billion we export. So let's come together and work together in China. Let's work together with China and realize that we need to realize about what's going on.
Because this is still such an uncertain situation.
Which means they may not invest.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks.
But we need to realize this lady, she's a beautiful lady, and they're doing what they think is right. But the thing is we need to do something about these tariffs. So there is going to be uncertainty when you have to make negotiations. We didn't come to the table with each country. So anything is uncertainty is the wrong word. We're in the process of negotiations, okay? The process of negotiations and what's best for the country and best for the people. We're in the process of negotiations. But I understand your concern. You want the best for your America, but we are in the process of negotiation. Someone has to do it, just like someone had to protect our borders and someone had to put America first. So this is not uncertain. This is the process of saving our America. We owe $800 billion to China. They killed many people across the world with their CCP virus and vaccinations related. And they killed 78,000 people with fentanyl. And we get 60% of all our products from them. We need to produce products here in America first. We need to bring back our businesses, which we are. And I'll repeat, President Trump is, and that's why we have to look at the good side of things. But we need to protect our small businesses. We need to protect our agriculture. And President Trump and the team have that all in mind. They have it all in mind. God bless you, and all is going to work out.
Rebecca.
Tariffs, the Panama Canal, pulling federal funds from prestigious universities, and the big, beautiful budget bill. President Trump, as you saw there, meeting with all members of his cabinet, getting an update from each one of them as stocks take a nosedive. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Kira Phillips. Glad you're with us. Look at the big board now as stocks have been plunging again today after Trump paused his higher tariffs on countries not named China. It's the latest drop in what's been a pretty wild ride, as you know, for the markets. Everybody feeling it in
See, the thing is what do they expect everything to be smooth? You know, to be smooth, we need to come together with the beauty of hope and faith, because we need to do something about our country. Okay, we're in debt. We need production in our own country, and we cannot continue living off the 60% production of all our products from China. Our country will be devastated from it, and we need to work together to save our small businesses and save our agriculture, of course. But this is not confusion. This is negotiating. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Just in the last few moments, the BBC has confirmed that US tariffs against China add up to 145%. That is on top of, that is including the existing 20% tariffs that were already imposed on the country at the beginning of the year. And also, after yesterday's huge rally on Wall Street, today we are seeing a very different picture. Share prices falling on the US stock exchanges.
And this,
continues over the US trade.
I believe that we could come together and work on this in a proper way and come to negotiation to protect our country and also our agriculture and our country.
Talking about a lot of different things. Consumer prices have actually dropped. There's very little inflation. Everybody predicted a lot of inflation, very little inflation. Energy costs are down. Interest rates are probably down. They scatter, but they're probably down. Prescription drug prices are even to down. We're doing very well. It's been amazing. We had a big day yesterday. There'll always be transition difficulty, but we had in history, it was the biggest day in history, the markets. So we're very, very happy with the way the country's running. We're trying to get the world to treat us fairly. This is something that should have been done 25 years ago, and it wasn't. Should have been done.
See, he's the first one in the team. And that's in my book. I talked about the tariffs. That's in the legacy book about In God's Power, America, Save Our Legacy. That's in 2024. And so we need to address these issues. We have to address these issues. They have to be addressed. Otherwise, we won't have a country. We won't have a country to pay our bills and to purchase things. The mass of people. Let's go on.
40 years ago when it wasn't. But no president was willing to take it on, but you had to. It's not sustainable. It wasn't sustainable.
And that's the thing I asked in 2012. I showed you that, Lucia Arden, that all offices and all spending of American spending, small, large businesses, have to be checked. I asked in 2012, our Need to Give to the World, my book. Let's go on.
As you know, without a lot of money being added, which is a lot of money that we could add, the country is making approximately $2 billion a day. And when you think of it, we've never done that before, never come close to it. And the number is probably $3.5 billion a day. And that makes us a very strong country. But we have Scott here and Howard and some of the people that are working on deals, and the biggest problem they have is they don't have enough time in the day. Everybody wants to come and make a deal, and we're working with a lot of different countries, and it's all going to work out very well. I think it's going to work out really very well, but we're in good shape. There's no inflation. There's very little inflation, and I went 4 years without inflation, and I took in hundreds of billions of dollars from China and others, taxes in China.
So we need to work on this, and God bless our country, and we're going to work on this.
But we took in hundreds of billions of dollars a year from China, and we had no inflation, essentially.
His first presidency.
So we think we're in very good shape. We think we're doing very well. Again, there'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful
thing.
We're doing again what we should have done Many years ago, we let it get out of control.
See, this is true. It has to be corrected. And just there is going to be some transition. When you try to correct something, there are issues that you have to go through. And I believe that we are going to come out strong, and we're going to protect our country and protect our agriculture, exports, and protect our small businesses. But there will be a transition issues, which is normal when you try to correct something.
And we allowed some countries to get very big and very rich at our expense, and can't let that happen. It's not a sustainable formula. So I wanted to just thank everybody at the table, and maybe I'll go around and ask some of you a little short couple of answers. Pete just got back from Panama, and he's been all over the place, and you want to give us a little report on that?
So thank you so much for your help today by listening. We need to come together in faith and strength and understanding of the things happen in life that sometimes they get out of hand, and we need to come together with the truth of what's best for America. It's very, very, very important what is best for America. I appreciate your time. My name is Lucia Arden, Our Need to Give to the World, and I asked in 2012 to review our offices, our spending of small and large businesses in our America. I asked to review that in 2012 in many years. And just like President Trump said, it should have been done 40 years ago, these tariffs. But we are going to work together and have a stronger country and a sustainable country. Thank you so much. This is Lucia Arden. Please look me up. I'm a political consultant, Guard Solutions for USA, Humanity, singer and speaker. Thank you so much. This is Lucia Arden.